Good afternoon, everybody. It's a late afternoon, and it's a Friday afternoon, so I trust that everybody's still engaged at this hour. My name is Adelaide Sheikh. I'm from the Department of Business Management under the School of Management within, it's very long introduction, within the College of Business and Economics. Thank you so much, Cassius. Thank you for inviting me to present. I also acknowledge Startup Grind as well as the Johannesburg Business School that you work closely with, which I also work closely with. And I think you guys are all doing fantastic work. Before I go into the presentation, I just want to, I know that you needed to, and you are still probably going to interview some youth entrepreneurs. That is what gets me up in the morning, is to go out and to lecture on the subject of entrepreneurship within the business sciences, and more specifically going to the university to lecture this, and not only just to lecture it, but to bring it to life for the youth of that's sitting in the classroom, and even now more so the ones that's in our virtual classrooms. So I'm always excited for the opportunity to be able to present on entrepreneurship. I think also, before I present, I want to leave your audience with a question and with a challenge or a thought. And I'm going to present this thought as well at the end of my presentation. And I want the youth of South Africa to think about this. Is unemployment a fallacy or not? Is it a truth or untruth? In the context of South Africa. And I want to leave you with that question as I go into the presentation. Is it a fallacy? Put it in a different way, is it a truth or untruth in terms of where we find ourselves in South Africa? You know, many countries report on this statistic, and our young people, even when I was young, I believe that if I didn't have a job, a job, that, you know, I was classified and labeled as unemployed, unproductive, not able to do much. But I want to leave you with that particular question. So can I go over to the presentation now, Cassius?
Yes, ma'am, you can go over to the presentation.
Okay, let me just find this application here quickly. Cassius, can you see the presentation? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am. I can see the presentation.
Okay. So I think that just in terms of this particular event, I think it was well put, the entrepreneurial journey, and also celebrating Black entrepreneurs within South Africa. I think all entrepreneurs during this time of COVID can also be celebrated, because it's really challenging. It actually is taking up an opportunity for entrepreneurs to really show their stripes, to see if they are able to keep their heads above water in terms of COVID and in terms of the challenges that COVID presents. Let me just close otherwise it will keep popping up messages. So what we're going to cover today is, we're just going to have a snapshot of the ecosystem within higher education for South Africa. And the two areas I'm going to cover is looking at the national initiative in higher education and what they're doing about entrepreneurship. And then we're going to take a closer look at what is offered at UJ. So just moving along to EDA, it's known as the Entrepreneurship Development in Higher Education. And this particular initiative started about 4 years ago, where the Department of Higher Education realized that a stronger focus needed to be placed on entrepreneurship. Why? Because entrepreneurship is what's going to drive the economy. And so what they've done is they put together an office as such, known as EDA, the Entrepreneurship Development Higher Education Office. And this office works very, very closely with the Department of Higher Education, funded and supported initially. In actual fact, it's actually quite nice to know that the initiative sort of was birthed at UJ as well, this particular initiative. But because it was national, it needed to have a further reach than just UJ. And then you have a Dr. Nora Clark that heads up this particular initiative, and she's done a fantastic job, her and her team. Also, they work in collaboration, and they report in also to the Universities of South Africa body. Now, the Universities of South Africa manages the 26 public universities and some of the TVET colleges. And so EDA actually reports into them, as well as the Department of Higher Education. And then they are also supported by the University Capacity Development Program. And so EDA has been doing some fantastic work. Just to highlight some of their focus areas. So their goals were recently revisited and sort of just rephrased, but it sort of has the same focus. When you look at the first focus, it's the economic activation of students through entrepreneurial action. And this is actually focusing on students within the university system, within tertiary education, to try and get the students more aware of the entrepreneurial activities, both within the universities and within sort of the network for EDA, as well as what is happening in terms of entrepreneurial activities within the economy. And this has been sort of a mind shift that needed to take place at university level. Remember, universities generally focus more on the academic side, on the theory, but we as lecturers have now been challenged to look more at how do we bring the theory to practice? How do we bring the student closer to the real world scenario? How do we bring the case studies into the classroom and make entrepreneurship really come to life? And so within that, there's also been some other initiatives outside of the classroom that I will also share with you that EDA has initiated. So the first point is definitely economic activation of students. And we need to encourage students when they are selecting the qualifications that they want to study, the career, the path they want to follow. They must have a broader vision on how to convert that knowledge to become actively involved in the economy, not to go and look for somebody that is already economically active and find a job there, but how can they rather become employers, and how can they be the ones that create the activity within the economy? So then the second point is the development of entrepreneurship through teaching and learning and research. So entrepreneurship a few years ago was just another module that was sort of included in business management studies. Excitingly enough, entrepreneurship has spread its wings, and it is now sort of being included in a lot of mainstream type whole programs. To give you an idea, even across different universities, it's being included in the health sciences to help those practitioners get their businesses started up and their practices. It's being included in the engineering department to help those engineers start up their own businesses. It's being included obviously in the business sciences, and to get students to be more thoughtful and be able to get into startup businesses and so forth. So it's actually really plugged in even into the Faculty of Art and Architecture and Design. It's actually also incorporated there. So in terms of the development of entrepreneurship through teaching, learning, and research, a lot more focus is happening. Many more research journals are being sort of created for the output for research in this particular field, and a lot more sort of cross-cultural and international collaboration is happening. So universities are trying to learn from each other what is happening in other local contexts, so that if there's any best practice, that it can also be implemented locally. And that's done through research, and the research then is converted to academic content for teaching and learning. The third point is the development of universities as entrepreneurial and innovative ecosystems. So what this means is, as we know that with the constriction of the economy over the past few years, budgets is not that available. So the Department of Higher Education is really trying to get the universities to become more and more self-sustainable. So that is where the entrepreneurial aspect comes in. Universities as entrepreneurial, innovative systems, meaning that the university needs to use its own resources to be sustainable, very much like a business, as well as create an innovative ecosystem, an ecosystem meaning a place where others can be developed within an entrepreneurial way, meaning that the students must find the resources, the support, even help with patents and copyrights and commercialization and so forth within the university while they are trying to set up their businesses. So moving on to the next slide. So EDA is wanting to strengthen universities across the country. So what they want to do is they want to leverage existing networks and EDA communities, meaning that EDA has already set up some networks and community across the country, and they are encouraging universities to collaborate with each other. The next point is to utilize existing university structures and resources. As we know, all universities have these big, beautiful buildings with classrooms and equipment in these classrooms. It also has a lot of knowledge, a body of knowledge across different fields of expertise. It's got its academics, it's got its practicing professors, it's got labs, and it's got technology centers, it's got centers for entrepreneurship and so forth. So what they are saying is the universities must utilize these resources to promote entrepreneurship. So at the end, to ensure economic participation of students and graduates, the university must not only set the student up to have a certificate, a degree, a PhD at the end. They want the universities to stimulate the interest in entrepreneurial activity, in entrepreneurial, an excitement for entrepreneurship, so that the economy can be stimulated. So using current resources and not having to find new resources would mean then a lean, scalable, sustainable way for startup businesses to plug in to what the universities already have. And I must say that some universities are doing it really well, like the Western Cape University, the Northeast University is doing it really, really well. Stellenbosch is doing it very well. Some of the other universities are coming along. UJ is also very excited to make sure that entrepreneurship is supported. And I'll speak a little bit more to that later. So some of the achievements of EDA is, and I'm not going to go through this long list. I think that Cassius is going to share these slides with you. But what they do is they have an annual kickoff start-off event in the beginning of the year. So they've had a few of these. I think they've had 3 of these. And this is where both student entrepreneurs and academic get together, as well as people in practice, and they brainstorm and they work out within these workshops how to rethink how the university needs to implement new ways of supporting entrepreneurship. Then they also have COPs, which is known as communities of practice. And the 3 COPs that they know have set up is a community of practice for how can the university support students in their entrepreneurial endeavor. How can the university, the second one is how can the academics improve the entrepreneurship curricula? And then the third one is how can the university's leadership become more entrepreneurial and support entrepreneurial activities within the university. Then they also have an executive leadership workshop for the DVCs, the deans and vice chancellors and the deputy vice chancellors, all the people on senior level, executive level, to try and continue the conversation and deepen the discussion around entrepreneurship within the universities. They also launch the university entrepreneurship ecosystem baseline report, meaning that they actually went out to all 26 universities to try and find out what is happening in terms of entrepreneurship in each university. So this was then presented back to the executive leadership, back to the Department of Higher Education, back to universities of South Africa. And a strategy has been sort of formulated this past few months, which is still to be announced. And then the 26 universities and 6 regions, both internal and virtual, have an intervarsity sort of competition, which has been going really well. And this particular intervarsity competition has surfaced or has brought sort of the spotlight on a lot of student entrepreneurs, which is great. They also have a student entrepreneur in Daba, and this year they had more than 500. The previous year they had just under 200, and this year they had 500. It was done virtually, so I think it was sort of the virtual event worked much better instead of the cost of traveling and so forth. And then the Lahotla, they also had the previous year, I think at the Lahotla I was there was about 500 people. I see this year there was about 1,200 people, which is great. And then obviously in terms of growing this initiative, there's been a lot of collaboration. There's been collaboration with Silicon Valley, with Startup Grind Global, in terms of collaborative efforts between the US and South Africa, which I think is going to be bearing fruit in the next few semesters from 2021. And then they have these continuous meetings and so forth, community of practice meetings and so forth. I just want to highlight to you also what they've done. They didn't sit back during this past few months with COVID. There were some COVID interventions, and what was nice, and the one that I attended as well, was the webinar on online learning, the challenges of COVID and how the academics had to cope, and we shared best practices. I didn't attend the 9-day international virtual tour, but I believe that was also very great, where they spoke to other countries' academics to find out how they were coping with teaching and learning, just in general, but also then for entrepreneurship. And then they had a webinar on work integrated learning. Now, if you know anything about, as a student, work integrated learning, sometimes you need to go into a company to get some work experience, and it's known as work integrated learning based on whatever field you are studying in. And that was a real big challenge during COVID. And so the academics actually sat and they collaborated with each other and tried to figure out what was the best way to be able to get through the work integrated learning, and also to allocate the marks to the students in more creative ways. So Cassius, I'm midway through my presentation, and I think I'll take questions at the end. So now, just focusing a little bit more on the University of Johannesburg, we look first at the Center for Entrepreneurship. And at the Center for Entrepreneurship, they have a few short learning programs. So short learning programs is different from whole programs. Whole programs at the universities normally start at undergrad level. You get undergrad and postgrad, and then you obviously work all the way up to PhD level. The Center for Entrepreneurship falls under the Johannesburg Business School. The Johannesburg Business School has a master's program, an MBA program, and a few short learning programs. So just to try and explain it to you, if you can see my arrow, on the left-hand side here, the Center for Entrepreneurship has short learning programs for social entrepreneurship. So it starts with the asset-based socioeconomic development program, which is a 3-day program, which is very nice for nonprofit organizations to do. It shows the NPO how to maximize current resources. Once this is done, the student can then move on to ESM. ESM is known as the Emerging Social Enterprise Management Program. It's on NQF5 level. This is specifically targeted at NGOs that are not trading, that are still working as a charity organization. But this particular program teaches and promotes income generation and how it can be done. So these two programs are normally offered together. It works very well together, but you can also just start from the Emerging Social Enterprise Management Program. And then from this program, you can then move on to the NQF6 program, which is the Advanced Social Entrepreneurship and Social Innovation Program, where this particular program focuses a lot more on innovation. This is specifically targeted at social businesses, social enterprises, businesses that have started with a social intent that is wanting to help the community and the environment to actually help. I hope this shows it a little bit better. I see my arrows are all over the place. So then these students, if they are interested in what the business school is offering in terms of short learning programs, they have fantastic short learning programs, in terms of markets and in terms of what's happening in the economy and so forth and so on. Then you find some even more interesting programs focused on pure entrepreneurship for commercial businesses. This is the Raymond Ackerman program at the NQF4 level. So what's beautiful about this particular program is that students can come in with a matric, but with no specific subject choices, but obviously very interested in business and starting up a business. Raymond Ackerman mainly targeted at youth. Once they've completed this, they can move on to the NQF5 small business program. And this one is specifically targeted at established businesses, 3-year plus, and so forth. These individuals can then move on to the NQF6 program. This is a brand new program that has been set up, Entrepreneurship Development Program. And this one looks at business growth. So as you can see, this is startup for youth. This one is an established business running for about 3 years or so. And then once the entrepreneur is ready to move on to the NQF6 level, this is for growth and scaling. And these programs also allow at any point on this particular path for these entrepreneurs to have access to the short learning programs. Also very brand new programs that is going to be offered as from 2021. There is about, I think there's more than 15. So forgive me if I don't know everything that's sitting in the Johannesburg Business School. They are just very, very busy and doing very, very well. So what is exciting that we have done, what the Center of Entrepreneurship has done, is that they've allowed for these programs to articulate into whole programs that is being offered at the Department of Business Management. So at the Department of Business Management, there's a higher certificate in business management on an NQF5 level, an advanced certificate at the NQF6 level, and then you go into a bridging program if you want to go into whole programs. So on my next slide, I will show you how that can actually work to go into whole programs. So this is the Department of Business Management. As I highlighted to you, you start with a higher certificate. If you have progress from the Center of Entrepreneurship, this requires, this particular program requires for you to have a matric certificate, with endorsement, and then you move on to the advanced certificate. As you can see, there's the bridging program, and this is where you now progress into a whole program. This is where you now go into the advanced diploma, and this advanced diploma goes into a postgraduate diploma for business management. As you can see, and as I was asked to highlight where the entrepreneurial module sits, so the entrepreneurial module sit in the diploma for small business development. There's a few entrepreneurial modules in there. There's also on a BCom level, if you want to start a whole program, it's specifically focused on entrepreneurship. And what's beautiful about either coming up this path into your honors, you can get to your MBA, or if you are ready to start at undergrad level, which this line represents, you can see my arrow, it represents the undergrad level, and you go into honors and you can go into MBA, and then they even offer you an additional module just to get you ready for the research on that particular program, the MBA program. I know everybody wants to end up at the MBA. It always sounds very exciting. So I think I'm almost done. Yeah, so there are some useful links which I've added in. Besides UJ offering entrepreneurship, we do know other universities also offer entrepreneurship. And some universities like the Northeast University has actually made it compulsory for each and every first-year student to do Entrepreneurship 101. At the University of the Western Cape, they actually have a Center for Entrepreneurship, and they offer the Entrepreneurship 101 as an extra module over and above what the student is studying to give them exposure to this. And so this is also quite exciting. So within a university setting also, most of the universities in South Africa have what they call a technology transfer office. So once you've started up your business, if you have an innovative idea, an innovative design, you can go to the technology transfer office, and they will be able to assist you to patent it, to send it through for it to be SABS approved or whatever other approvals it might need, accreditations it might need, and they can also assist you to commercialize this new innovative idea. So that's what's happening at the universities. I've spoken at length about EDA, that is helping the universities and creating a support mechanism and a network for the universities to become more entrepreneurial. And then obviously we also know Services CETA has the venture entrepreneurship venture program that they offer. And I think this has come to the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you so.
I don't know if there's any questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm not sure if we are having any questions at the moment. Tabile from CSPS at Johannesburg, she's also live. I'm not sure if there are any questions. Tabile, are there any questions from the Facebook Live? Please just write in the chat if there are, and then I can present you on stage, and then you maybe read them to us. Hello. Okay. No, there are not. Okay. No, ma'am, there are no questions. I think in that case it means everyone has understood what you were sharing about. Okay.
I trust they have, Cassius. I really trust they have.
Yes.
Because it felt like I was talking very.
Okay. Yes, we have questions from Mr. Ian McCloy. He says, "What are the subjects in entrepreneurship?" Yeah.
I think the subjects within the entrepreneurship programs are really focused on the business sciences. So if I start maybe with Center for the Center for Entrepreneurship, the focus there is mainly on the basic business subjects like HR and finance and operations and so forth within those qualifications. When you get to the NQF6 level, they focus a little bit more, not only on the operational type modules, but they also look at some strategic modules to try and help the business look at its business model, to look at the strategy, to look at a growth strategy and so forth. When you look at the subjects on the undergrad level, they start very basic, obviously because it's a 3-year program. So if you know about undergrad programs, it starts basically at the NQF5, the second year is NQF6, third year NQF7, and so they build up on it. So let's say within those qualifications, they also have a strong focus on economics, a strong focus on finance, a strong focus on entrepreneurship, of course, which becomes a major. They also have strategy. They look at corporate entrepreneurship as well. And then when it comes to the honors level, it also looks at strategy in terms of the business and so forth. And on the honors level, it also has a research component. So the student needs to find an area of interest that they want to do research on, and they write up on that particular topic within the field of business sciences and with the focus of entrepreneurship. And that's how it goes. And then obviously on the MBA, a very broad, and I like our MBA. It seems a very practical. It seems like it really covers an array of topics that is very, very pertinent to people that are sort of looking to grow their businesses, looking to go global, to international business and trade and so forth. Yeah, and so the MBA also has a research component to it. So I think in terms of just answering the question, for the entrepreneurship qualifications, it will focus on business, operations, strategy, growth, and a great focus on business models as well.
And another one from Mr. Metro himself, it says, how important are entrepreneurs in the economy going forward?
How important? Do you know how it is when you don't eat a slice of bread with butter on? It's very dry. So entrepreneurs are very, very important. They are going to be the fuel to keep the economy going. They are going to be the ones that is going to be able to employ people so that those individuals can keep a meal on their tables. They are going to be the ones that is going to collaborate not only locally but also internationally and bring foreign trade and attract foreign trade and also trade with other countries to stimulate the economy. They're going to allow people to earn income so that they can pay taxes, so we can keep, I shouldn't say keep bailing people out, but no, so that we can actually continue to grow our country and to stabilize, to get out of recession. Entrepreneurs are critical. And I want to just emphasize, Mr. McCloy, that student entrepreneurs is the answer to South Africa's challenges when it comes to stimulating the economy. Our student entrepreneurs are very innovative. They are amazing. They come up with amazing ideas. And if we can just support them through this to get them to be commercialized, to get them stable within the trading and running their businesses, to get just past that break-even point, you know, I think that a lot can be said for our country moving in the right direction.
I think another one from me, I would say, I hear that you mentioned strategic management as one of your one of the courses that one can expect in the programs. And I would like to know how important is the strategy in terms of when you are at the startup stage, because I think one thing that entrepreneurs might be thinking about is actually the product. To say if the product sells, there's no point of having a strategy going forward to say how are we going to operate. So yeah, how important is the strategy for the startup companies and also in companies which are at the seed side?
Cassius, if you can think about it this way, when you decide to go on a journey, you don't just get into your car and start driving and not know where the destination or a specific idea of what destination you'd like to reach. So the same with a business. Yes, we do get a beautiful vision. We do get ideas for products and services, but we need to align that with a strategy and have a start and an end point. Get to the end point, look at it, look back, reflect, look at what the strategy was. How did we get to that point? Did we do well? Did we not do well? Revise the strategy and go on that circle again, in terms of review, plan, strategize, move forward and implement, pause, so that's how a journey happens. Even if you're going to take a trip in your car to Cape Town, which you can't do right now, apparently they don't, yeah, COVID. You need to stop at certain petrol stations to refuel, to check the engine and so forth. And this is the same with a business. You can't just think you're going to keep running, especially an entrepreneur. And I just maybe want to pause here and say that as much as strategy is important for your business, an entrepreneur also needs to have a personal plan running alongside that business. They need to take care of themselves. They need to live healthy. They need to have a positive mindset. They need to collaborate with people of like-mindedness. They need to find next works. And all of this is called the ecosystem, where they need to plug in. The university is one of the resources. The funding houses is one of the resources and in the ecosystem. But alongside that, just to answer your question, Cassius, strategy is very important. Strategy for your own personal life, because you as an entrepreneur need to be on top of your game, and you are the one that people are looking to. When you're starting your business, they look at you because you are the brand initially, before your brand gets out there. So you need to present yourself well, you need to do well, you need to keep your energies up, you need to push through the difficult times. And then once your business is operational and it's running and you're getting the operations in place and so forth, each and every person in the business needs to know what that strategy is. And basically, it's called a plan. Everybody needs to know what's in the plan, how to implement the plan. And you as a leader need to sit back and reflect on a weekly basis. Am I still on the right track? And then lead your team along that strategy. So yes, I think it's very, very important. Thanks for asking that question.
Okay,
It's not only for once your business is 5 years old.
yes, definitely. I think we have no more questions left. Thank you so much, ma'am, for tuning in,
Welcome.
for presenting for us. And I would like also to thank small business at JPS for tuning in via their Facebook platforms. Thank you so much to Center for Entrepreneurship as well, with the help of getting this event into place. Thank you. Thanks to Tabile CV for also being live as well, facilitating the online the Facebook one. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and visit our website for future events. Thank you so much. I think this is the end of our journey for this evening. Have a wonderful weekend and be blessed.
Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, stop recording.